How does the new entry into the world of John Wick Ballerina measure up to the rest of the franchise? Let's talk about it in this movie review for Ballerina from 2025. Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Tissue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Ballerina from the world of John Wick. This is a new film, part of the John Wick world on the whole. Um, as of the recording of this video, we have a Rotten Tomato score of 75%, with an average for the audience of 94% and a letterbox average rating of 3.5. Going into this film, I had heard a lot of people being very hesitant about how good this film would be. I'm not sure why. Maybe because the studio didn't do many screenings for critics, and normally that's not a good sign, right? When maybe the studio didn't have a lot of faith. The marketing for this film also, I feel, was not what it could have been. It was a little bit underwhelming. I know the Armas did the rounds, but other than that, I didn't really see anybody else. And maybe they were trying to keep some surprises out there for the people. But yeah, I had a really good time with this film. It delivers on what it promises, and what it promises is an expansion of this world of John Wick. We get really cool action sequences. We get a really interesting character in Eve, played by Ana de Armas. So we'll get into all that. Let's talk a little bit about the creative team behind this film. This is directed by Len Weissman, director of Underworld and Live Free or Die Hard, which I like the Underworld franchise, especially the first few films, and I'm also a big fan of the Live Free of Die Hard. That's probably my favorite Die Hard film, if you can believe that. This is from Lionsgate, and it stars Ana de Armas as Eve Macaro. Keanu Reeves returns as John Wick. We'll talk about the timeline a little bit. Ian McShane as Winston Scott, the manager of the Continental. Angelica Houston is the director, in the same role that she's been in the John Wick, but she gets a lot more to do in this film, which is really fun. Gabriel Byrne is the Chancellor. Norman Reedus is Daniel Pine, and then we have one more performance by the late great Lance Reddick as Sharon, the concierge at the hotel, the Continental. This film set between John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, and Chapter 4. Ballerina follows Eve Macaro, a trained ballerina and assassin raised by the Ruska Roma syndicate. Driven by the murder of her father, Eve embarks on a relentless quest for revenge, confronting a sinister cult led by the Chancellor. Her journey intertwines with familiar faces from the John Wick universe, including brief encounters with John Wick himself. Um, I think there's one of the highlights for me in this film was the action. It was delivered in a very compelling fashion. I think all the sequences, we definitely hit like nonstop action from the get go. Really, right? We get a few minutes to introduce us back into the world, introduce us to the character of Eve. We actually spend, I would say, maybe about 15 minutes or so of the film, learning about her childhood and kind of like where all this comes from, and also planting the seeds for this cult that we see later on. After that, though, it is just we get to see some training. We get to see Ballerina. We get to see Eve become the ballerina, the badass that we know from the trailers. And it's just off to the races. She goes on missions. She starts hunting down this cult. She stumbles onto Norman Reedus, which is a very interesting foil for her. And things just happen. Like every action sequence is meticulously planned, but it really all builds to this great part at the end, in the third act, where it almost feels like our main characters just dropped into this impossible circumstance, and yet somehow through just sheer badassery overcomes this. It's really fun to see Ana de Armas work again with Keanu Reeves. I think they worked a few times before, but Knock Knock is a film that it's probably very much under the radar. I believe is one of Armas's first performances, but it's really messed up. Like just uh, yeah, very. It's just a very messed up film, which I never really looked into how or why that came to be and how Keanu Reeves got involved. But they worked together in that, so that was really fun to see them now, after their careers have, because that's a film from like 2015 or so, maybe 10 years ago. So seeing them now, 10 years later, how their careers have changed. Obviously, Keanu was already a superstar by then, which kind of made me wonder how he ended up in that film. But back to Ballerina. I think the strengths of the John Wick franchise are this really interesting, intricate world, an underworld of like crime and assassins and living in the continental and all these rules and these alliances and treaties between the different groups, introducing this cult as another one of those kind of hidden um, groups of people that kind of control the world in some sort of way, is also very interesting. Of course, we get to learn a lot more about the Ruska Roma, Angelica Houston, just fantastic performances here. She was great in John Wick, but she's able to do so much more with the character of the director in just a few more scenes, which really serves well for the character. The locations are great. I always love that these films really feel very much lived in. And then the soundtrack to score it all is just amazing. Like it really raises the tension, raises the stakes. Um, Normally when we go into an action film, um, uh, people kind of wonder like how these stunts are happening, but I saw a lot of the behind the scenes leading up to the film, which was one of the good things about the marketing of this film. So I really love that. I feels like Ana de Armas really did a lot of this with with a great stunt team, it seems. So they deliver some outstanding sequences, really topping one all the way leading up to probably the coolest one you might have seen in the trailers with when the flamethrowers come out. That is just so cool. It's very interesting because normally John Wick action sequences are a little bit more reserved, but in this one I feel like they just went all out, right? They really wanted to separate the way that Eve's character kind of takes an approach to kicking ass and doing what she needs to do, which is it's very dissimilar to John Wick's approach, which is more restrained and contained. Like he doesn't want to keep doing this. It's really cool to also expand on the lore of the Baba Yaga and like how well known um, his mythology is kind of known around all these people as well. The fact that this happens between movie 3 and 4 also just kind of leads to avoiding any kind of questions about continuity or anything like that, right? It just really fits nicely, and you get to see some recreations of some scenes we saw in the movie, but maybe from a different point of view, which I feel is always a fun time when you're a fan of these franchise. But you can also go into this as your first film in the John Wick universe and work backwards from there, because all you really know is that John Wick is this really badass assassin, but you don't really understand anything else. You don't need to. You don't need to, because this is all about Eve and her point of view and her story. Um, Norman Reedus was an unexpected surprise. I didn't even realize he was in the film, which was great. And I really just love how the director tries to blend the elegance of the ballet and into these brutal action scenes. Right. That's why the Eve's style is so much different when it comes to fighting, even just a one-on-one combat. Um, and the idea of this cult living in this one little town, uh very classic. It almost feels like a village that has been pulled out of time, and kind of just the cult sits there, and as the world moves on, but then you realize that that's not the case. They definitely are keeping up with a lot of stuff, but they just have this world set up so interestingly. So I really enjoyed Ballerina. I think it's a very worthy entry into this. I would definitely watch another one with Ana de Armas, just kind of continuing on this legacy. If John Wick is done, which I don't think it is, I know there's rumblings about a John Wick 5. If that's not the case though, I would definitely love to see this world kind of be expanded upon with Ana de Armas and Eve's character and her character of Eve. So really cool stuff, great performances, badass action sequences, all you could ask for in a movie from the world of John Wick. So go check out Ballerina in theaters. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Let me know which ones are your favorites from the John Wick universe. And as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thank you for watching, everyone. Bye bye.